All right, so this week we're dealing with Taharah, and which means cleanliness. Okay, so the word used for impurity is najasa. And najasa means every kind of impurity: filth, pollution, defilement, things that render, anything that makes something unclean and dirty. And so tonight we'll be talking about clean things and dirty things. And I want to advise you and warn you up front that if you're easily grossed out by certain things, then be careful and maybe, mute yourself during that time. So najasa, they divide it into two main groups. There's called najasa hakiki, which means the physical impurities that you see, like cow dung or whatever it is. And then you have najasa hukmiya, which is najasa in effect. That is, this is an impurity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has defined, and it's not a physical thing that you can see, but it puts you in a state of impurity. And so there, of course, on both of these, they have grave and minor and major. Okay, so look at this area, al-Mutahhirat, it's really concerning the process and items that we use to clean something, to make it clean. Now that we have learned what is impure, now we have to figure out how do we clean them. So the universal cleanser is, of course, water. We use water to wash, to soak, to wipe, to rinse. So water is one of the things that gets used to clean things. Sometimes you may use other liquids to clean something. Like vinegar, for example, sometimes is used to clean. The ground, the earth is also used to clean. Back home in Ghana, we would, like, when they would cook in the masjid, they would actually take a piece of the earth, either ashes or sand, and they would clean the pots. So the earth can be used to clean. One of the ways that the Prophet ﷺ had said is that if you mash something on your shoes, for example, an unclean substance on your shoes, one of the ways to clean it is actually to rub it in the earth, because it's a cleaning agent until it comes off. The sun is used as a cleaning agent, that when the sun hits on objects, it purifies them. Drying is another way that we use to clean things. And then they have this, I think it's, I made a typo there, al-istihala. I left out the I-S-T. I'll fix this before I send it out. Istihala, which means to transform one object into another. So you have an unclean object, and then you are able to change its nature, its chemistry, and it becomes another object that is pure. So a lot of time they will take an unclean object and they have a way that they can transform this into a pure object. Then once it changes its state, it is no longer considered impure. One of the things they would do is take the blood of deer, because the deer, the blood is kind of very, it has a nice smell. So they make perfume out of it. So blood in itself is impure, but the perfume that gets made from it is considered pure. Fire is another way in which we can purify things. Some of the scholars have different positions on it. Like Abu Hanifa mentions that, you can like take clay, dirty clay, and if you put fire on it and you make it, it can become good clay as a result of that fire. And so as long as that item that is on that particular clay, you burn it, that it will become pure. Tanning, they take leather, animal skins. The only exception is the skin of pigs and dogs. And there's difference of opinion here too, in which we don't use to tan. But you can do tanning. Tanning is a process in which they take the skin of animals and they put it through a lot of different kinds of chemicals and different kinds of ways of doing it, and it eventually becomes purified. Rubbing an object against another object, or say like sometimes you would rub a piece of cloth against another and it will take away a stain. So that's another way you can clean stuff. Like I mentioned just now, we rub sand against a utensil. It can clean it. Wiping is another way. You can either wet a piece of cloth and wipe it, or you can take a rag and you can wipe something and clean it. Boiling is another way to clean things. For example, if you have some oil that has some bad stuff in it, you can throw some water in it and then boil it out back. So boiling is another way of cleaning items. Disposition, that means removing the bad part and leaving the rest. So if you have an item in which there's one particular piece, like for example, you have a piece of land, and then there's a part of the earth that got some bad, dirty thing went on it. You can actually either take that and either turn it over, or you can remove it from that part, and it purifies the rest of the item. Another way is, for example, you have butter, and some small impurity fall on one part of the butter. You could scrape out that part of the butter and throw it away, and the rest of the butter remains pure. And they do this with honey. You have some syrup or something, and a fly fell in or something. You can just, fly is not considered impure. You just remove the fly, and the rest of the items is considered, considered pure. So that's another way they clean things. Scraping. You can scrape off, the Sahaba used to do it when they have semen on their clothes, they would scrape it off vigorously and it would be considered as being clean. So these items of cleaning, and in our day and age, we probably have much more other ways of cleaning things, like dry cleaning, they use chemicals and so on. But these were some that was mentioned in our books of fiqh. And then the actual process of cleaning stuff, what they did was they classified these items by groups to try to make it as easy as possible. So here you have, for example, earth. If earth gets messed up, you have a number of ways you can clean earth. You can wash, dry, you rinse it and let it dry. That's considered cleaning the earth. Turn over the piece that is bad. You can light a fire, so there are many ways that we could clean the earth, or things that fall in the earth and defile that piece of the earth. Non-porous solids. This is stuff like your knife, your sword, your ornaments, your metals, your gold and silver and your china and stuff like that. You can either wash them, you can either wipe them with a cloth, or you could rub them with earth. These are some of the ways you can clean non-porous solids. Porous articles, you could use tanning, you can use washing, like a piece of cloth, or rinsing, drying, like carpet, like some wood utensils that you may have, or stone utensils. They are not quite non-porous, they're porous. You can wash and rinse and dry them. And then liquids, let me just, So liquids, you can transform it into something else. Like you can take oil and you can make it into soap. If you have a bad oil, you can clean it, or you have oil you want to clean, you can make it into soap by transformation. You can also boil. For example, if you have some honey, that's something you're not sure that is right with it, you can, or a syrup or something, you can add equal quantity of water to it, to that oil or syrup or that, and then you boil it, they purify it. Semi-solids, this is like your butter and your flour. You just remove the bad portion, and then the rest is good to go. Animal skins tanning, like sheep and cow. We don't encourage pig and dogs. And then so if you get a dog lick you or something like that, dog love to lick. You have to wash it at least 7 times. With dog, this is a very special exception, that particularly when dog, their saliva is what is bad. If a dog like rubs against your side of you, but he didn't lick you or anything, you're not considered unclean. What is considered unclean is if the saliva of the dog or the sweat of the dog comes upon you, then you're considered unclean. And the human body, there are many ways sometimes we get unclean. You rub an oil that is not good, that's not pure, or you may have tattoos in which you use some ink which is not allowable in your tattoo. Usually, or you color your hair with some hair coloring that is haram, have haram products in it. Generally, those things you just wash them and they're considered as being pure because you can't remove the tattoo. So at least you wash them properly, you wash your hair properly, you wash the coloring off, and then you will be considered as being clean.